Hello, welcome back. I am the Watcher, and today I'm dressed like a knob. Why am I dressed like a knob? Because I have a fantastic book for you today. Team America. Now, from what I understand, Captain America is supposed to show up at some point. He's not in this issue yet. Now, this is a very patriotic book, and it has a lot to do with motorcycles and machismo and that kind of thing. So if that's not the type of video you're interested in, maybe come back next week when we do Red Sun, a story in which when Superman came to Earth, he landed in the Soviet Union. This is the graphic novel version. It's quite a few comics together, so I'll be doing the videos in parts. But today we're doing Team America, so without any further delay, let's get to it. Okay, welcome to the main segment. As you can see, I went back to my old camera angle. I have one of those Chinese lanterns over the ceiling light, but it's still giving me a little bit of glare at times. I did figure out how to get the brightness from my circle light without it adding glare. I also took off the motorcycle jacket because I felt like it was making some crinkly noises. And I'm really right up on the microphone. I already got it cut out every time I stopped to breathe, so I didn't want to have a bunch of little annoying crinkly sounds all over this video. This isn't an ASMR channel. Unless you think it is and you're enjoying that, then you're welcome. Personally, I don't think I have the best voice. It's like a little teen boy like Steve from American Dad. Ah, geez, can we go down to the malt shop? Well, anyways, let's get to the comic. So, just starting off, I love this cover art. Now, these comics, they were from someone's private collection, and you can tell they were worn. There's some dirty fingerprints throughout and whatnot. And this is honestly so old, I don't want to try to remove it. Look, 60 cents. From what I understand, this is when Marvel started putting the characters in the corner. But this is Marauder's appearance, so you think they'd put someone more notable. Now, on the back, you have some awesome, it's like this thing you can enter. Like, yeah, I don't know if your school ever had you sell candy, but it's kind of like that. And you get some high-tech prizes. You can get a microscope, a kayak, or inflatable pontoon, a digital clock. I think my mom has one of those still. It's in storage. She doesn't use it, but I think we all had that growing up. Digital diamond baseball. Man, that was state of the art. And look, here's the thing. There's a bunch of these postage slips that are just unclipped and still in there. The spy scope. Yorkie radio. I didn't know something before. Kind of like, sure, you can get a tent. This microphone thing. It's funny how a lot of this stuff, I'm literally recording this video on a lot of it right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so much of this technology is all together. Oh, I didn't notice it's a Coleco TV game. ColecoVision. You know, many of you, if you know anything about Coleco, it's that there's an episode of South Park, the chicken herpes episode, where the parents send all the kids over to Kenny's to stay the night so they get sick. And Cartman's like, this place is ghetto because they only have ColecoVision plugged into a black and white. I think most people on YouTube watching these videos are going to be like under 35. And you open it up and you immediately just bombarded with these beautiful ads. Now, again, when I say I like ads in comics, this is what I'm talking about. You got the slot bank. You got a hand timer. Oh, this is a good one. UFO solar. Giant solar UFO. It looks like a balloon. You know, that probably led to a few UFO sightings. Double build crazy cap. Watch, now Kanye's going to be wearing that. They're going to bring that back soon. They're going to be like, that's so original. Deluxe police car. Actual police handcuffs. Crazy action billiards ball. Oh, it splits. Phony brick. The classic X-ray vision. The spy pen. Oh, Groucho Marx glasses. Oh, some cool sunglasses. Air Force pilot sunglasses. That was how you got aviators back then. I would have ordered a ton of those. Big Bang Fun Snaps. Magic Screw Trick. See, these are the ads I like. I know that it was a bunch of bullcrap, but man, that's what I want to see. You know, some of this stuff, we had stuff kind of like that when I was a kid, and you knew it was going to be bad, but that's kind of what made you want to buy it. So you start off with this cool splash page, and the first thing you'll notice is it is on the old newspaper print. Some of the coloring is a little blotchy in some areas, and some of the printing on the words is going to be uneven. It looks like it got a little wet or something. But you know what? That's what Bobby Hill would call wabi-sabi. That's part of the imperfections that add to the beauty of it. At least I think so. So it starts off as just talking about everyone. Here's Marauder, he's the one in black. And then you have your main three members of Team America. Define the technological giants as a team of individuals from widely diverse backgrounds, united by an inexplicable bond. A team of individuals striving to win victory and glory for themselves and their country. You know what? That's what America's about. To me, at least. Kind of weird how they did these stripes. It makes it look like they're at a circus or candy stripers or something. Now, one thing I want to talk about is the bikes. Again, I'm a big motorcycle fanatic, and I love cartoons. I love bikes and cartoons, but so many of them draw them bad. I don't know if any of you watched Batman Beyond. And I know it's in the future. They could be like that BMW concept bike. That's why they look so plain and stripped down. But you'll get funny things like mufflers going out of both sides that are single ones, like these doubles. Or the engine looking the same on the side. The air can being drawn on each side. And what's funny is these guys, they actually look like they're on Asian bikes. Because they didn't put on the air filters. And most of the bikes I know where you don't see the air filter on the side like that are from Japanese manufacturers. But these bikes are actually drawn pretty decent. They have so many components. They actually have like the brakes and whatnot. They just don't have a lot of the cables, the connecting cables, which no one ever draws at. Like what, you just want a random line. I think the bikes are drawn pretty decently in here. There's some things they do later on, and sometimes I'll give them credit for doing the right thing, but sometimes they do the wrong thing. And I'll point it out if I notice it. The biggest one I can think of is they keep talking about the bikes in terms of horsepower. And while that is true, most people don't talk about horsepower with bikes because it's actually so low, it's like it doesn't sound impressive. For instance, I think most like 1200cc bikes, what are they, like 7 or 12 horsepower? So they talk about a bike having massive horsepower. This is why a lot of times with bikes you measure in cc, which pretty much has to do with the size of the cylinder that is igniting. But that's why most people go with cc. And if you played Grand Theft Auto or Mario Kart growing up, you probably think, yeah, more cc make go faster. And that is true to a degree, but there are some other factors that play into it. That's why a lot of people don't like solely basing a motorcycle's power off that. Some like to use torque. But, you know, most people I've met, just for a quick, easy way to understand the bike is more powerful, go with cc. Alright, well, back to the book. So it starts off with this cool, mysterious guy, and he's sneaking into this base. And you can kind of see right here how I was saying the coloring, like you can see the blue blotches bleeding around it, like they went in and they colored it and it bled around it. You'll see that with some of these color patterns too, is the words will be chalky. And I actually recognize that what that's from when I do my watercolor. A lot of times I'll have a word bubble and I'll go to paint part of it in, and then the words will look chalky, so you have to go over with water and make them stick back out. That's with watercolor, of course. I don't know how you do that with coloring in comics, but I don't imagine they have the ability to do that. So he climbs up this wall. It says he's literally got his finger in the cracks. And he gets up here and he busts open this little one of those skylight windows. And he's responsibly climbing down a ladder, which, you know, maybe it's just modern. You always see him jump down it nowadays. And he gets into this computer room. Look, just take a minute to look at this computer. This is going to be beautiful right here. This was high tech back then too. So he comes over to this thing. And he's taking a top secret, top secret. That's how you know it's top secret. It says it twice. He's getting these 5 files on these people. And he starts sneaking out. And it's not till he's climbing down the wall again, this guy sees him. And it's really making this guy seem like he's the shit. It's talking about how masterfully he planned this out and how he has this all down to the T. But he didn't estimate that this guy would take us extra 7 seconds because his shoe became untied, making him appear right when he's crawling down. And he's going to blast him with his left hand, so I always find it funny when they do this. They put it on the far side so it can be in the shot. But it's like most people would hold the gun with their right hand, even people who write with their left hand. They could have just put him over here, but I don't know. It's always funny when they do that to me. The same thing, they'll put two guards side by side and they'll have their weapons going away from each other, so one of them's holding them wrong just so it looks symmetrical. Well, anyways, he doesn't fret on that at all. He just kicks him. He specifically doesn't hurt him. Just kicks him. And then there's this huge 40,000 volt fence, and he just rips through it. And it insinuates he might have like some insulation in his gloves. And it's like he's got a bike waiting for him. Oh, look, they drew the cable right there. That's sweet. I feel like they had like some reference material for motorcycles. You can always tell when someone drew like a motorcycle who doesn't work on them or understand the mechanics, because they'll make like certain parts melded together. It's kind of like there's a bunch of those Chinese knockoff guns from their revolutionary period, and they'll be based on like Russian guns that have the sight, what is it called, a frange from an AK. But you won't be able to adjust it. You can't push the little button in and drag it to the meters to actually level it off. Like, they just sealed it all together because they didn't understand what they're looking at. And they're like, yeah, let's just put these numbers on it. If you want to see a lot of those guns, which I love, there's this great channel here on YouTube called Forgotten Weapons with Ian McCullen. One of my favorite YouTube channels. So that guy breaks out. It's going to be a long video just from my rants. And you have this weird Bubble Yum ad, which, and these people, they kind of remind me of like the Sea Monkey drawings. I wonder if the same person did it. I remember this gum when I was a kid. I'm pretty sure this is the same gum that has the punk duck on it now. I remember when I was a kid, he wasn't a punk, but he started becoming punk, and they stopped having the other ones. So Marauder, he's driving off, and they're shooting at him. They're like, bang, bang, bang. He's like, he's taking off. And these cops, they're trying to block him. Well, they're not cops. They're, what do they call them here? Something, the hood of the security patrol car. Yeah, they're security patrol with guns. And so he shifts his weight and literally like jumps his bike over. It says he drops into a lower gear and does a wheelie, so his wheel hits and he drives pretty much like over the car. They're like, I can't believe it. And he's like, vroom, takes off. It's like, we got him cornered now. Our people have already cut off his escape route to the highway, and he's headed for a dead end. But they don't know who they're messing with. Because, again, he does some shit. You know, he went on to invent trial bikes, because he just flies off that mountainside, and he gets away. He literally jumps the gorge like Homer imagined he would in that very special episode of The Simpsons. And the cops just pull off and they're looking. And then they gotta go with their tail between their legs and tell their boss, evil guy. A lot of villains smoked back then. See, they didn't mind showing things as negative. Now you can't even put, like, the villain smoking. They'd be like, I don't want kids imitating it. So he's just like, he took 5 dossiers. I can't imagine what anyone would want with those names or how they could be used against us, but we can't take any chances. So somehow he erased it from the computer, and he's just like, yeah, just kill them. Find out who those 5 people are and murder them. That's why I think there's going to be more members later on, because they introduced 3 here. 4 if you include Marauder. I'm not sure if he's a member. Well, anyway, so the boss's lackey goes out, and he's just like, Hail Hydra! And the screen pulls up and he's talking to his superiors at Hydra because he's controlled by Hydra. Which, again, Captain America shows up later. And he's talking about this cool new bike. It was made by Masatake Pops Kuramoto. I think Pops is his nickname because he's old. And it's like the super advanced bike that it pretty much got like Jarvis in it. It can make all kinds of calculations and do shit. And it's like the top of the line motorcycle. And once again, they got the cables in on this. They drew this one a little more accurate. And they're talking about how they got to use any force necessary to get this badass bike. And they leave with a Hail Hydra. So the next day you have this international race. This is where our badasses start showing up. So you got this guy who he uses a lot of Spanish terms, so they kind of insinuate it. I'm just going to assume he's Mexican. And I like that because there's not a lot of Hispanic superheroes, and it's nice for them to have some representation. He starts off, Madre de Dios, the security around this area, it is incredible. And then he's thinking about the bike. He thinks they're foolish. Because it's more the man than the bike that wins the race, which is true to an extent. You know, you have to be able to perform on these high-performance vehicles, but what's interesting is around this time is when engine sizes really started shooting up. And that's when you start getting a lot of the sport bikes, like these with the long seats where they were kind of like a dirt bike and a crotch rocket and a cruiser had a little baby, right? Because a lot of those bikes kind of evolved off this style. Now we have so many types of motorcycles are spoiled. We even have like adventure bikes, which is your #1 weekend warrior bike, which is great for those guys. You know, they get a little bit of everything. So the Wolf, who is the fastest man on two wheels, he's monologuing about how cool he is. He's like, it's more man than machine that wins. If I, El Lobo, the Wolf, were riding in this race, no trick machine would beat me, no matter who the rider was. Man, that's a little foreshadowing. And what's funny is, when I read this before, I thought he was talking, but he's thinking this to himself. So he's sitting there, and he's thinking about himself in the third person, and then he's translating his own name. And I'm just going to call him Lobo the Wolf. And you have this little Hydra guy, and he's hiding some bombs while Lobo walks over. And he notices it, and he jumps. He just jumps out of there. And kablam! I really love the contrast there. So then you have this other guy. What's his name? James McDonald. And you have another Hydra guy who's sitting here with a knife. He tries throwing a knife at him. And he just runs off. And this guy's whole deal is he used to work for the CIA. Because he couldn't handle all the bureaucracy and the red tape, and just, he felt like he could do something better. Oh, look, someone left him a little note before his assassination. So whoever's doing that is way more competent than Hydra. Hydra really sucks in this one. And then you have Rowan Jr. And he's talking about how he really needs money. He was like a trust fund kid, but him and his dad, you know, they had issues, and he didn't want his money, so he's trying to make his own money so he can pay him back and be his own man. And some guy sneaks up. This is probably the best plan, is the guy literally just has a gun and tries to shoot him. But he jumps out of the way. He's looking through his spokes. And he's like, oh, he must have hightailed it out of here. I'm going to do the same. He gets on his bike, he rides off. He goes into this garage, and he immediately starts fighting with Lobo, the Wolf. It kind of reminds me of Logan, how he's very confrontational with Cyclops. Just constant PP measuring. He's like, I'll ask you the question. Someone just tried to kill me. He's like, yeah, someone tried to kill me too, buddy. So they start, you know, they're like, yeah, I would rather honestly see two guys doing that than when they press their chests together and look like they want to kiss. Just sit there with your fist out like, it's coming for your face, buddy. And then James is like, settle down, you two. We're all trying to be murdered here for some reason. And he's like, I found this note that might explain something. All of you share a common destiny. All of you are linked. All of you can triumph as one. Or each of you can fall alone, die alone, hope dies with you. If you win, I can win. If I win, hope lives on for all of America. Who will stand for America? The race awaits, Marauder. So yeah, it was Marauder left the note. And they're like, yeah, we're going to race? We're going to do some racing? They're talking about how crazy it is. And then Lobo, he's like, they're really just arguing about it. And he's like, I'm going to bend this wrench to show how tough I am. And then they're talking about how they're going to wear red, white, and blue to be Team America. We are 3 individuals, each striving to be the best, each driven by his own separate dreams. Isn't that what America is all about? Right on, man. Well, Wolf, are we partners? Very well. Amigo for now. You have this cool little ad for some comic book sellers. They didn't have like eBay and stuff back then, so I wonder if anyone ever saw this and then called these people and were like, send me this. I will pay you. I will send you a check in the mail. So they're here tricking their bikes out, talking about how they're going to have an uphill battle against all these sponsored teams. But they're like, no, we can do it. And they're really putting in the work. You know, they're twisting some things. He's holding what looks like a thumbtack. He's welding some sort of thing onto a thing. You know, just normal motorcycle stuff. You know, if you've ever serviced your bike, I'm sure you had to twist the thumbtack and weld the dick-looking thing to what looks like the handlebars. Alright, so then Hydra's there. They all got their guns out. And they're like, we will be ready. They got fucking tanks. They got helicopters. They're like ready to go to war. They even got this giant friggin' blimp. And their plan is to wait, because they know that Pops is going to win, because his bike is just so badass. So they're just going to hide all this by the finish line. I like to imagine they're just sitting right behind the bleachers with all this. People thought it was like a display coming in. And they're going to flood out and arrest him. So here they are in the Team America clothes. I really like Lobo's myself. I think the blue looks pretty sharp. Maybe that's just a Captain America influence. He's like, I feel like a fool in these new leathers. He's like, give it a rest, Wolf. We represent America. Hey, I just heard that Pops Kuramoto is running his Wonder Bike in the last leg of the rally. He's riding it himself. Good. I will ride last, and I will beat him to the finish. I'll lead off. And then he thinks to himself, that'll leave me free to watch out for Hydra. It don't matter when I ride. Are you Reedy's gonna blow these cycle jocks right off the turf? They're all lined up, and there's this beautiful scene. Moments later, the roar of the crowd is suddenly smothered beneath the thunder of revving engines as the first wave of racers take their place on the starting grind. And they're off. They're fast. Really love just, oh my god, the streak lines, the coloring. One thing I really like about these older ones is they didn't have as many colors, so they did a lot of contrast, like how all the riders are red. Just the ground's yellow, the statement's blue. They actually made the people a different color. Reminds me of when I tried making comics as a kid and I only had highlighters to color them with, so I'd have like 3-tone. And you have this huge 2-page comic book cell spread, and this is the page, like, you can tell it's really dirty. You can see some of the fingerprints on it. And again, I don't want to try to clean this, because in my experience, you try cleaning this stuff, you damage it. And so he finishes good. That guy suspiciously looks like Hydra. Shortly in the pit area, hey Wolf, give me a hand. I've got a busted hose clamp. Tell the pit crew, punk, I'm a rider. We don't have pit crew, wise guy. Then fix it yourself. What? Hey, man. Reedy, you're up. Get out there. So, now we see if you ride as well as you whine, eh? Move it, Red. And he jumps it. That overstuffed baboon? Who the heck does he think he is? I oughta... Out of my way, turkey. Him and Lobo, the wolf, are just constantly flexing on each other. You know, there's that bounty hunter Lobo later who rides a motorcycle, and as far as I know, these guys aren't related at all. They have a strong lead at this point. He's like, Just make sure you don't blow our lead, Mr. Macho. Reed's got a point. Pops Koromoto will be mounting up soon. He'll be hot on your tail. Bah! No man, no machine can be El Lobo. And, you know, that just screams badass. I love the twin tailpipes, too. I really like when the pipes go out both sides, even though it makes it a little harder to change your tire. So their team's ready. And he's gaining on them. He's like, oh, that rider is wearing the colors of the Japanese team. He's like, oh, he's taking me on the turn, which, Lobo, he's supposed to be a great rider. Why are you taking the turn so wide? You should have started, like, over here and got a tighter... When I took my safety course, they said that's the apex of the turn. It's like, once again, Mario Kart. You pick bikes, you can't really drift. You have to just turn at really good angles. That's what this guy needs to do. You have some more cool ads, like these holograms, which I wonder how that works. It's probably just like cellophane you hold up to the window. Get an Atlas body in 7 days, which I wish it worked that way. Plans for little carts and motorcycles. Be a drummer. This Thor-looking dude. Man, ads were so good back then. So you have Lobo, and he wins the race, and he's doing this little fist pump. And this is a surprise because he doesn't take his hand off the throttle. So he's still going. And he's just like, Hell Hydra! No, he's not like Hell Hydra. But then Hydra, they swarm in. Look, you can see the green, the splotchiness. Now, they think, because El Lobo won, they assume that he's Pops, because they're all colorblind. Well, I guess all the riders are red. And he's just like, quick, get him for Hydra! And he's like, ay, caramba! He's Bart Simpson now, apparently. So they literally, they roll in with tanks, they roll in with freaking helicopters. And they start riding their bikes around, and they're dodging shots, which they make it seem like it's like boom, 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 which, I don't know, they make it seem like it's a gun. I don't think a tank's main cannon fires like that. They're shooting them with helicopters, and look at them, they're bucking, they're weaving around them. They're freaking, they're making them look stupid. Hydra looks really incompetent in here. Like, he just rides by him and knocks him, and he's like, while his gun's going off. They're literally chasing them. They can't do shit. Because they're just so good at motorcycles. And then you have this blimp. And it has like a tractor beam is trying to abduct Pops. And then Red, you know, he's just like, oh, I got this. And he jumps up there. And he gets sucked into the ship. And they're surrounded by Hydra. They're fighting. They're taking off their bikes. But then, boom! It gets Hindenburged. It crashes. Somehow it's still full of people who are standing up and fine. And you see what looks like Marauder in the middle, just beating the shit out of a bunch of Hydra guys. And they're like, get him! He's the one who sabotaged the ship. But how'd he ever get aboard? I think Marauder is a working inside Hydra myself. So they're kicking ass. And he gets away. And Pops, he's like, I'm gonna go get you help, Marauder. And then the police start showing up, and the Hydra's like, they're like, retreat! Leader told us to retreat. He's like, why? We have superior weaponry, tanks? We can annihilate them. Our orders are to retreat. Silence lest the leader overhear you. It is death to question orders. We must obey at once. Freaking, like a true henchman. So then this guy, he's like, well, I got you all at gunpoint, the bad guy from earlier. And it's like, well, he can't stop all of us. So they jump both ways. And Lobo, he goes for him. And he starts choking him. And he's like, now, cochino, you pay. He starts choking him. Cochino, by the way, is a pig. It's pig in Spanish. He's like, no, Wolf, you're going to kill him. Stop. Let him go. More cool comic book ads. You got Spider-Man pointing at Daredevil. And then they're like, oh no, he's dead. He's like, good, I wanted him to do that. No, he got shot. You didn't do it. See, here's the bullet. I pulled it out of his gun, out of his bleeding wound. And the bike is just totaled now. I'm like, well, you can build a new one, right, Pops? And he's like, no, the whole reason that bike was so intelligent and able to like swerve and maneuver on its own was because I accidentally soldered some wires together, and I don't know how to do it again. Which, yeah, you know, you just accidentally solder your blinkers together, and it makes your bike super intelligent. It can buck and weave out of the way. That's how he, even though being a normal guy that can't ride that good, was able to compete in the race and dodge all those Hydra guys. And then now they're accusing him of being a marauder. He's like, no, I got knocked out as soon as I was in the blimp. I don't know who that was. They're all like, who is the marauder then? Like, we don't know. And then they have their little party. You know, they get touch some butt. Lobo's being all pissy. And he's actually got his hand pretty high and respectful. He's not doing the Keanu Reeves, the float behind. And then next month, we have Fear and Loathing in Montana. And last page is just some ads. You have them. This is a sign up for these prizes, and they have this cool superhero. And just more of the prizes you can win. And that's it. That is the wonder that is Team America. So, let's get to the final thoughts. So as for my final thoughts, you know, for me, it was a bit like when I discovered the anime Bakuwan, in that I loved it simply based on principle. I'm a big motorcycle fanatic. I have my own motorcycle. I've had and restored quite a few, and it's just something that's in your soul or it's not. Now, as far as comics go, the story's a little like, but it's the first issue. I'm hoping they get better. But again, this is a series that ran 1 year and didn't make it, so you're going to find out with me why it didn't make it. If that is a problem having to do with the writing or something else. Now, as for my power scaling, I don't think Team America could defeat Captain Planet at the moment. In fact, Captain Planet would probably show up and give them all, like, electric scooters or something. I don't know if they're going to get more powerful later on. I do know, once again, they do get Captain America. Now, one more thing I feel like I should bring up before the video ends is I found out about this comic from an episode of Comic Tropes with Chris, and he does a brief outline of all the stories. That specific video is actually what got me doing this channel, because I seen that comic series, I went to look it up, I seen how cheap it was, and I started getting more comics. I dug out my old comics, and I started reading them, and I just wanted to talk about it. Well, I hope to see you again next time. Until then, stay safe, and God bless America.